On YouTube.
I mean YouTube. Okay.
Yeah,
but you do have a Facebook page.
I do, but I have to. I was using Restream, but it just wasn't. It didn't. It didn't work. But we're live on YouTube now.
Okay. Well, then I'll shoot that link out to my peeps while I'm here.
Do you have the YouTube link?
I do.
Right. Sweet. Good. Yeah. If you want to shoot that out, you can. I'll pop it in Back to the Future too. Hello, everybody. Let's go Back to the Future. And they can watch you.
Right. In touch.
But Warren is having internet issues. Thank you. And most importantly, the link.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. So you're in your glory right there in Back to the Future. All right.
All right.
So let's get some recording going here. Hi, everybody. Oh, improve that. And get into Zoom. Do backups, do record on Zoom and record on Audio Hijack. All right, so we're going to start Audio Hijack. That's the most important one.
Right on. And we are doing an audio podcast here, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. All right, pulling up the script. All right, we're on episode 138. Let's get going here. And let's start in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 138 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. And I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. My co-host, Warren Sklar, was supposed to be here, but unfortunately, he had internet issues, so it wasn't going to work out today. But we also already had planned a wonderful guest, returning guest, Mr. Mike LaPlante. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, David.
Absolutely.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been a long time since you were on the show. I think at least over a year. So it was overdue. But you put some interesting discussion about Apple Maps and the Mac of the Future, and I said, it's a good excuse to have Mike back on the show here. So
yes, and that's what we need, an excuse.
It's a good excuse, but no, you should always be coming back here. So if anybody doesn't know, you and I met at each other at Macstock, and then I was on your old show, iChart Radio, which really got me some motivation to do this podcast. And here I am, 138 episodes later, and we're still going strong with talking about tech and iPhone, iOS, all that fun stuff. Huh?
And Dave has the passion, that's for sure. I love it that there's folks out there still doing the podcast about Apple related stuff.
Yeah, well, there's still tons of them out there. I'm in good company, but there's a lot out there. So, but we're going to talk about the news here this week. You had a couple stories you popped in here, as well as mention beta real quick. We'll talk, like I said, about the discussion a little about Apple Maps, and then I have a discussion here we're going to talk about with the Airpods. We'll hold that thought to a little bit here. So let's go ahead and go to the first story here. This was on 9to5Mac. We actually have two links here. Anker beats Apple to market. New iPhone 12 MagSafe compatible battery pack is now available. The popular accessory maker Anker, which I really like their products, has officially released a new MagSafe compatible wireless power bank for iPhone 12 users. This comes as rumors suggested that Apple was developing its own similar accessory, but had faced some roadblocks in development. Seems to recall that with Apple in the past there. But Anker, which there's no surprise here, teased it at CES last month. I did see that when I was covering CES, and it is now available to order. So, Mike, this caught your eye. What was your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts are the fact that a company like Anker, which they're developing a name for themselves in this type of market, accessories for iOS devices, or even Macs for that matter. Pardon me. The fact that they put something out to market before Apple did. And it seems as though Apple has an issue with power accessories. They were going to release something they called the Power Mat. Was it the Power Mat or Power Pad?
Power Mat. That's why I kind of made that snark comment. It's like, yeah, that never came to be.
And it never came to fruition. And you would think that shortly after you release a phone with a MagSafe adapter, a way for you to get the power into this thing, it just seemed like a no-brainer. You're going to obviously have a battery pack on that. But no go. Anchor comes in before Apple. There is a little bit of a not a caveat, but the fact that the Anchor device, which it basically just snaps onto the back of your iPhone 12, it only allows you to charge at 5 watts, as opposed to a which is the what do they call it, compatible with iPhone, as opposed to being in the program itself, which at that point you are able to charge at 15 watts.
Yeah. No, this is great. And then there was 2 articles we linked to both 9 to 5 Mac and The Verge. So it did to make The Verge. So if it makes The Verge, it's big news. So, yeah, this is it's as I said, it sports only a 5,000 milliamp battery. So of course they had to keep it light, only to keep it compact in size, I would think. And it does also have a USB-C output for charging with the cable as well. So if you decide you don't want to do it wirelessly, you can just take a cable and do the lightning to USB-C and plug it in. Yeah, so you got a little bit extra battery pack, and it's small, it almost fits in your pocket. So
so you could use it basically with anything.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just like that's typical Anchor. I mean, I've got tons. I'm sure you do too. I got Anchor batteries laying around here everywhere. I got like sitting over there. I got a big bag of batteries. Like, why do I have like 5 batteries? Like, why did I need all these batteries for? They're still good. So, but you never know. I got to carry around batteries with me. So let's have 4 or 5 batteries with you. But those are the big giant bricks, the 220,000 milliamp.
Right.
Ones.
Yeah. So what are you rocking right now? You got an iPhone 12?
I got the 12 Pro Max. Yep. I got the sitting camera here. Love it.
I mean, that's what I assumed you had. So what is your battery life with the average David Ginsburg daily routine going on? How's your battery hold out?
Actually, good question about the battery life, because I put it to a really good test here. Like today, I'm still at 71%, and I've been using it, about average all day. I mean, nothing crazy busy with it. But yesterday I was doing some video recording. Sorry, I want to grab a drink here, and I was doing some video recording. I was recording for work, but I was recording in 4K 60. So that's some pretty intense video. So by the time, and this was probably the first time since I've probably had the phone that got under 15%. I had left by the end of the day.
And what were you using to video record? What app were you using?
I just use the camera app. I was going to use Filmic Pro, which is a really good, really good app. I should have, but I just didn't have the time to get it set. we were on a time crunch. So, but I did use an external lapel mic and plugged it in with the lightning to headphone jack
3.5 millimeter.
Yeah, 3.5 jack adapter, and then the mic worked great, so we had some good sound. So but yeah, the battery life for the most part, the iPhone, all the 12s. Do you have a 12? Or
I don't. I'm still on the 11 Pro,
which is fine. It's still
Thanks,
a great
Dave.
phone.
Thanks, appreciate it.
It is. I mean, people who have the 11, I tell them, if there's most people, not crazy people like me who are in the upgrade program and have
the
to
next
upgrade
thing right now.
Every year, I do it every year. Warren does the same thing, so that's why Warren and I probably get along so well, because he's a little crazier than I am. He's buying new Macs like every other day, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, so the battery life's good. So something like this, I think this battery pack's probably not going to be anything I would probably be really too interested in, because I have so many batteries, and then it's and the battery life has been so good on my iPhone 12 Pro Max that
So what I'm kind of curious. You have so many batteries. What do you use the batteries for? If you're battery life
I
on your
had
phone.
been using them, I had been using them for charging them before, but I've had them over the last couple of years, so they're not something I had bought just recently. It's purchased just recently. So,
Okay.
but just like anybody, look at my closet. I got bins full of cords and cables, and I'm a tech guy. I got to have all this stuff. You never know when I'm gonna need stuff. So I got baggies of a FireWire 400 cables up there, and why am I keeping this stuff? I mean, I just throw it out, but you never know. You might need a cable.
I was going to ask you, do you have a FireWire cable? And he throws it out. Of course, he's got a FireWire cable.
I got 12. I got a FireWire 800 sitting right here on it plugged into my OWC the dock station here. So because I still have FireWire external drives, so you never know.
You never know. It was a great technology, FireWire, but obviously Apple felt the need to move on.
Absolutely. So we went off on tangent there, but but that's okay. That's what we like. We're having a good conversation here. Then this was a Mac Rumors the other day. Of course, on February 24th, it marked the Steve Jobs' 66th birthday. We sure miss him. He passed away in 2011. God, it'll be 10 years since in October. And they had a nice article to talk about. Of course, Mac Rumors is 21 years old, so I guess they were on the same day. So, which was kind of ironic, being that Steve Jobs was always one to not be too much of a fan of the rumor sites. If I seem to remember a rumor site to get shut down by Apple many, many years ago.
Oh boy, you got a good memory there. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot the name of the site, but I remember it happening. So it talks about, all the changes that happened. And I remember the day that they introduced the iPod, and when he brought it out, pulled it out of his pocket. And so a lot of exciting things that happened with Steve Jobs, and, very, very much missed around the world from the Apple fans. And Tim Cook, had some nice words about him, and a lot of good stuff. So, but I got into the Apple world a little late in the game. I didn't start really being into Apple more until really about 2005, 2006. So whereas many others have been around since the 80s when the Macintosh first came out. So I missed that world. I should have been in that, but I stored myself away for a while and didn't come back until later. So, but what'd you think? I think this was good to talk about him, and
absolutely
what his legacy was.
His impact is obviously it's huge in terms of technology. Just in general, his ideas pushed forward a lot of innovation that who knows what would have been around if he hadn't showed up. Having said that, what if he's only 66 years old if he was still living today? It boggles the mind to think what we'd have if he was still living. Makes you think of someone like Jimi Hendrix or something. Like what kind of music would he be making right now?
He was like 24. Yeah, he was like 25, so wasn't he when he passed?
Jimi Hendrix, he was 27, I believe.
Close.
Yeah, he belonged to the 27 club, if you're familiar with that.
So check that out. That was some good stuff. And next story was Apple offers developers a clarification on some app privacy data reporting requirements. And this was a Mac Rumors as well. Apple today informed its developers that it's introducing additional guidance for the App Store privacy labels, which has been quite a controversy for the last month or so, since it was announced that 14.5, when it's released, is going to be enforcing this. And Apple says that the rules surrounding the data types like email, text messages, and gameplay content have been expanded to make it easier for developers to understand and comply with these requirements. And on its developer website, it had a detailed list of the kind of information that developers must provide for their apps, an explanation on types of data collected, all that fun stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I mean, obviously, we've been hearing a lot with Facebook, and I'm honestly tired of hearing about Facebook and this whole thing with the privacy thing. But they need to get over it, because this is something that needs to be done. I think Apple's looking out in the best interest of us and giving us the option. Do we want our things to be private or not? And it really is. It's important. What do you think?
I think that Apple is taking the high road like they always have, and they always thought that customer privacy was paramount in all regards, whether it's the data you put into the apps that you get on the App Store, or service, pardon me, the services they provide as well. It's just something that they really believe in. And I think as time went on, Facebook, Google, and all these companies that are using your data to target ads at you, they feel this is something that's good for the customer, but in reality, it's mostly good for Facebook and Google. It's on a second tier, it's good for the advertisers, the people who place ads on these platforms. It's it's an amazing platform to have all the eyeballs looking at your ads, and it's the least good for the consumers. There are times when I see an ad and I'm thinking, that was a really well placed ad, and then I ended up buying something there. But then you always get creeped out. But then we have to think about at what point do we stop getting creeped out and we get used to this. We know that people are watching, or there's not people watching it, there's an algorithm watching us. That's another thing that helps you get past all this, is the fact that you realize there's no real person who's looking at where I go on the internet. It's all figured out on computers. And if someone wanted to extract that information, sure, but that never happens. For the most part, all this stuff is going on behind the scenes, and it's all for the purpose of taking advertisements and putting them in front of your eyeballs.
Absolutely. And I'm all for it. And I'm glad they're doing it. But these developers are going to have to get going. And we've talked about this before on the show here about Google. A lot of the Google apps haven't been updated since December. I haven't looked since then, but they're going to have to get on the bandwagon if they want these apps to be available in the App Store. So
I think that they're on.
Have to.
Someone like Google, they're going to throw all their stuff up. Being Apple
14.5 is released.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's got to be done by then for sure.
They're gonna have to do it. So, next story: Apple surpasses Samsung as the world's largest smartphone maker in the fourth quarter. This is Mac Rumors. Apple overtook Samsung to become the largest smartphone vendor worldwide in the fourth quarter of 2020, a feat not achieved by Apple since 2016, according to the market data from Gartner. The final quarter of 2020, Apple sold 80 million new iPhones, largely driven by the launch of the first 5G-enabled iPhone series, of course, the iPhone 12, and improved camera features was a big thing, and that was one of the things that motivated me with the iPhone 12 as well. But this is great to see. I'm glad to see that Apple continues to excel with the iPhone. I mean, it's their bread and butter. It's big part of their business. And this chart here shows all the other phone manufacturers. Just basically Apple, Samsung, Huawei. I couldn't buy a Huawei phone if you paid me, but the Chinese company. So, but the privacy issues though. But yeah, what do you think? I think this is something great.
I think that back in 2016, when this record was done before, Apple was releasing their iPhone sales results every quarter. But now we're relying on some kind of Gartner voodoo magic secret sauce for these numbers, which it kind of makes it a little less legitimate. And you have to think that with Samsung and Apple, it's pretty close, obviously, if they kind of keep leapfrogging over each other, going back and forth, depending on a lot of things. But for the most part, they're pretty tight at the top there of the smartphone market. But having said that, what else did I want to say about that was, the smartphone sales were down 12.5% globally for the year 2020, but Apple didn't see any decline, and so that's probably why they sold more phones, because Samsung did see some declines because they're in markets that they sell a lot of models of phones, but they sell lots of phones that people just passed up on in 2020.
Too many models in Samsung, as far as I'm concerned, but that's me. And then last story we had this week, this was in imore.com actually. There will never be a free tier of Apple Music, confirms head of licensing. Apple's global senior director of music publishing, Elena Siegel, has told the company has gone further than any other streaming platform to ensure money flows to artists on Apple Music. We did talk about the money that is getting back to Apple, which is great. That was a news story a couple of weeks ago, and they've been doing a really great job of making sure that the money's going back to the artists and really being very supportive. And they were questioning her to see whether a streaming service should be considered similar to what Spotify, I believe, does, because you have Spotify free and be able to listen to music. I believe YouTube Music does that as well.
Yep.
But why? I mean, what's not? I mean, if anything, what's going to happen with this is the fact that the musicians are going to be much happier with Apple, because Apple is rewarding them and not offering their services as a free tier. So, and you being a music guy, what do you think?
Well, I think the free tier that is in the Spotify platform, those are their advertisement dollars that are directed to the artists in that tier, as opposed to the pay tiers. And there's a different pay scale, and that whole pay scale thing, it's just so convoluted. Like, if you're a big name, you can negotiate your price, but if you're just Joe Blow, kind of got some popularity, you're getting what we give you. Basically, you don't have any power to negotiate. You're taking the 1/100th of a penny for every stream, or it's not even that. It's way less than that. What am I even thinking? But it's next to nothing. Basically, these artists are getting, unless you're someone like Lady Gaga or Led Zeppelin or someone huge, you're getting what they give you, basically. So
and they even were talking about here. The unlevel refers to assertion that YouTube doesn't necessarily have licensing for all the music it uses and doesn't need to. And, free is free. That's hard to compete against it. But there's some justification, like you said. Are these artists really getting rewarded for their music when people are listening to it for free? So
that's
right. Definitely an interesting thing.
Yeah, YouTube is that's a whole different thing as well. It's not all one level thing there either. You got artists who have whole groups of people making sure that their music is not being played on YouTube, whereas there's other people,
right? Because they have always the copyright claims are like afoot. I mean, I think I posted a video of from my Apple user group, and he played like not even 5 or 10 seconds of a song, and they threw a copyright claim right on it. I'm like, really? It wasn't even like part. It was just all he was using is doing it as a demo. He wasn't even playing it as like to actually play the song. So they're very, very on the YouTube, the video side of things, they're very strict about that. So now I'm a subscriber to YouTube Premium, so because I think it's worth it, because as many of us love being on YouTube every day, and could spend probably your entire day, if not then some, watching all the content that's on YouTube. But YouTube Music is included with that subscription. So so YouTube Music does have some benefits as well. So I'm an Apple Music subscriber because I do have the Apple bundle that's included with it, and then YouTube Music. So I'm a consumer of 2 platforms for music. So you get really the best of both worlds. But because there might be some obscure songs that were that were on YouTube Music that aren't on Apple Music. I'll go to a good example of music. Alf's Lifesong, he did a solo album. I never even realized that. And there was a solo album called Vapor, which you probably know. And it was on YouTube Music. Now this is great. I want to listen to this. And it sounded great. I mean, it was, because I'm a big Rush fan too. But it wasn't on Apple Music. So you have, there's this kind of one example of, there are services out there that may have stuff.
A lot of these one-off albums that don't make it to Apple's service because it just wasn't on that level, or the artist decided not to make it available. Someone like Alex Lifeson can afford to do something like that. And Geddy Lee has a solo album too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he does. Yeah. There's both the guys had some great stuff. Yep. So that's it with the music here, and then that's also it with the news that we're going to cover this week. Let's talk a little bit about beta. iOS 14.5 beta 2 is still out. It hasn't gone beyond beta 2. Unfortunately, Warren's not here to defend himself, because as we know, and I keep talking at the show every week, he loves being on the cutting edge of beta, and he always says it's okay. But we love you, Warren. And he had thought that it was going to get released to the public this week because in Mac to the Future Facebook page group, he had posted, "Get ready, it's dropping this week," and it didn't happen. So I think the biggest thing that people are really itching to get with this beta is the fact of being able to unlock your iPhone wearing a mask, utilizing your Apple Watch. So you'll be able to upgrade to Watch OS 7.4, and you'll be able to upgrade to iOS 14.5, and then you'll be able to now finally get that convenience, because the Apple Watch, just like the Apple Watch now can unlock your Mac, it's now going to be able to unlock your iPhone with wearing a mask, because it'll do Face ID and still see you're wearing a mask, and it automatically opens up. So
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it uses whatever it is, 60,000 dots or 30,000 points of light, and I think it just repurposes those into the cavities of your eyeballs and the edge of your the bridge of your nose. So yeah, that's a great convenience. It's interesting that one of the most like a friendly feature that we're looking forward to in this next version is a feature that we're hopefully not even going to need a year on or 2 years on from now.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
So beta should be out. I'm anticipating, I would hope to see it drop next week as we record this. But there also could be some things holding back a little bit because of what we just talked about earlier with the security and the privacy settings that a lot of pushing is going on. So they're probably, being smart and waiting to see how things fall in place before it gets finally released. But hard to say. It's beta.
Yeah, and what do you think as far as when that's going to actually drop? Like sometime in March?
I thought for sure, and Warren and I both had been talking about it. The fact that just this Apple Watch unlock with the mask was a big, huge game changer, and it made and most normally media outlets don't normally talk about beta, and it was making all the major media outlets, CNN and all the other big ones. Oh, look at what you're going to be able to do on your iPhone. So it got a lot of publicity. So you would think that Apple is probably is itching to get it out in people's hands and be able to do it. So for those who don't like to live on the edge of beta like Warren does, but so I would anticipate, I don't know, it could be next week. It's very possible because usually like Tuesday, Wednesday is really when they've been releasing to the public once it comes out of beta to the public release. So
when do you think the golden release is going to be available to everybody?
Like I said, I think it's very possible next week. I really think so, because it's been 2 weeks since almost 2 weeks since beta 2 came out. Unless they have another beta they want to come out with just to iron the bugs out. These short betas tend to not go real long. I mean, unlike when the major release, like when iOS 15 starts rolling back out in June, which of course that'll go for a few months. They've been pretty quick. They've been pretty quick with beta releases going public to public release. So it's definitely going to be interesting. So, all right, let's move on to the topic of the week. And Mike had posted this great video out on our Mac to the Future Facebook page. I know it was a short but sweet page, and a few interesting comments, I must say, but that's the way it goes when you post things on Facebook. But you were having a challenge of Apple Maps showing the location of a site, and I agree with you. I use Apple, but I'm a big Apple Maps user, and what I would do is I would search for something and I would say, hey, I want to know where it's actually located, and I would type it in. And you're right, there are some challenges where it isn't going to show up on Apple Maps, where Google Maps tends to do a little better job of it. So go ahead and tell the listeners what your experience was and what you were disappointed with of all these years since Apple Maps was started.
Yeah, well, Apple Maps it's had a trying time. Like, we're basically on the second iteration of Apple Maps right now, right. I think. Yeah. So it was so bad the first time that they said, let's get rid of that. Could you imagine that? Could you actually imagine that if you're a company and you got rid of your whole mapping platform? And here we are right now, and we're still punching in the names of places, and their Apple Maps is not able to find them. And this is not for me to post a video to the Max of the Future thing. It wasn't just a one-off thing.
No, I know it wasn't.
This happens to me on a kind of regular basis.
Yeah.
My wife tends to she just falls back to Apple Maps, and so I'm in her realm, like, I might be navigating for or whatever, and then she gets frustrated. I'm like, you probably shouldn't be using Apple Maps. Well, there's something else to use. Well, yeah, there's Google Maps you could use, and I just the fact that Google Maps, it seems to have a lot more concentrated, up to date information about retail locations, I find as well. Whereas you zoom in on any given intersection in any given town, and in Apple Maps, it tends to be a little bare. Like, you have a street, a store name, and then you go down for four more businesses, and then it might have that one. Whereas in Google Map, it's got every single one, and it might just be the new pizza shop that just opened up last week. That's there. Like, it's amazing how fast they get updated with new information in terms of stuff that's going on in the cities. Like, they open up a new thing and it's there right away, it seems like. So with Apple Maps, I was the story is I was just laying in bed with my iPad and I was watching. I belong to a wine club, and this guy was telling me about this winery from British Columbia that I've been to British Columbia wine country for many times, and he mentioned a winery I've never even heard of. I'm like, well, where's this at? And I just accidentally open Apple Maps and try to punch it in. No dice. Punch it in Google Maps, it showed up. But the thing is, it was the name of the winery is called Intersection Winery. But the actual name of the place is called Intersection Estate Winery. So when you punched in Intersection State Winery into Apple Maps, you do get to go there. But how do we know that? I just see a guy holding up a bottle of wine, says Intersection, and I just punch in Intersection Winery. Google has the wherewithal to figure it out. He may be missing a word in here, but these two words, they fit together, and it is a place. Whereas the Apple Maps, I live in Canada, all the locations they gave me were all in the United States.
But I mean, for the most part, Apple Maps has worked okay for me. It just some of the settings that are in there, including just doing a simple search, having the app clips built into it, I think is really cool. I've demonstrated that before. You type in, a good example is Panera Bread. You type in Panera Bread, you look at the Panera Bread location, then the app clip will come up in the map, being able to place your order at Panera Bread right from Apple Maps. So they have done some smart things with Apple Maps in that sense.
I agree.
But yeah, and some of the stuff is not as friendly, and I think they've done good things about the look around feature where you can tap the image of somebody. They obviously pulled a lot of this stuff from Google Maps, had been doing this for a while.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got this in here, and like, here's a good example. I tapped in Popeyes because one day I got a craving for the Popeyes chicken sandwich because it's so good, and of course T-Mobile was giving a free one away, so I think that was the other reason why I was looking for a Popeyes sandwich here. But you scroll up, and this does have a way to order it too, and this actually brings it, and then that brings it in through Yelp, so you can place the order. The menu is on there through Yelp, and then it gives useful to know information. It gives you some of the ratings that people gave on Yelp. So it all depends on the restaurant and what you're looking for. It relates to the app clip that they build in. So that means you don't have to have the app that the restaurant actually provides, and be able to do a search for it without a problem here. So they're giving the weather where you are, and when you're searching on the map as well. So if you search in a different location, it'll tell you the weather information right there. The air quality index is in there as well, so you have that in there. So I think Apple Maps has done a good job when it comes to that, and being able to do that. And they still use TomTom as their back end, which is interesting, and that's still very accurate data. So I think in itself, the Apple Maps as doing a very good job. But when there's quirks like that, and there's a very good reason to say something and say, hey, what's the deal with this? Why can't you find this?
Well, my frustration is rooted in the fact that I would love for Apple's mapping platform to be awesome, because so many of their things are freaking awesome. Well, come on, let's get with with the Apple Maps thing. Like, I want to use Apple Maps exclusively, and then everything can tie in, and you always want to use the tie-in. One thing overlaps with the next thing, and it's relatively seamless. Whereas and the same thing is true with Google if you're in that ecosystem. But I'm in the Apple ecosystem. They have a mapping platform. I have expectations, and Apple's not meeting them.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. I agree. But I thought it was good at least to get that out there, because people are always asking questions about that. There was also another. I actually put this in as a link. There's a link in the show notes. A story that was on Apple Insider about the Apple's indoor mapping format has been adopted as a community standard. Apple indoor mapping data format, which they're calling it IMDF, was this week adopted by the Open Geospatial Consortium as a community standard for indoor positioning services. And Apple announced this past week. The standards is based on paving the way for accurate indoor positioning on a variety of platforms, because they do have in like shopping malls, airports, it's all built into Apple Maps that gives you the opportunity of being able to set that up. And it's kind of freaky when you go in there. It's like, oh, there's where the JC Penney is, and where the store, the Apple store is here, and it shows you exactly where it is on the mall's map. So it's cool that they've adopted this as an actual community standard. And it was a great information. Mobile, and it is mobile friendly, compact, human readable. Gives you lots of extendability, so developers can easily work with Apple and the Apple Maps platform, being able to get this. So I've used it before. I assume you have.
Yes, I have it, and I think it's awesome. I've been in a few airports. I've been in a few malls, especially over in the States. It's great to as a mall directory, especially when some of these are like 3 levels, and you're just trying to find the Apple store or wherever, and these are the kinds of innovations that I think Apple is, I love seeing them throw them into the Apple Maps, but they just need to get, a few of the other edges smoothed out first before. I don't know if they're trying to do too much, or, like you say, they have the look around, and they have this indoor mapping platform that has now become basically a standard. But does Google have something like this? I want to say they do.
I thought they did. I can't imagine they wouldn't. I haven't used it, so I can't say for sure.
Right.
But I had thought I mean, I'd be surprised if the Google wouldn't have something like that.
Hey, you know what? Apple has a great standard. Google should adopt it and use it in their mapping platform.
That's how it should work, right? Next topic I want to talk about is I think I've mentioned this before on the show, and I've done this as a recommendation. There's a service out there. It's a company called PodSwap, and their website is thepodswap.com. We have a link in the show notes about this. And what they do is, this is an interesting business model. They're actually based in Miami, Florida, and they started this business where what they do is they send you a refurbished pair of AirPods, and they replace the battery. They've come up with a way that they actually can disassemble the AirPods and be able to go get in there and actually replace the battery. And I never thought in a million years that you'd be able to get into these AirPods, because I've been using AirPods. I have the first gen, and that's what we'll talk about here. And never, who would have thought that you could even get into these? I know iFixit probably, I think, gave it a 1 or a 2 repair rating as it was anyway. So, but they came up with a way where they, what they do is they take your, they send you a pair of refurbished AirPods with brand new batteries in them, and they've tested and rated them to have good batteries. You receive the replacement instantly, and then all you do is go into the pack, and you send them your old AirPods back, and you're done. So then what they'll do is they'll clean up the ones you had, because that people are going to have AirPods that have earwax and gross stuff, and they got to do some major sanitizing before they could even consider.
I would assume so.
Yeah. So that they say they do that as well, which they have to, of course. I don't think they'd be selling somebody with some used. That's bad enough. I feel uncomfortable as it is anyway to even buy a pair of used AirPods as it is. So, but they've done a great job of being able to do this. And so I thought I would actually go through it because the pair of AirPods I had, for the first generation AirPods, I believe it or not, came out in 2016. So it's been 4 or 5 years since
yeah.
those first came out. And for the sake of the for the sake of the video share, I'm just sharing a picture of what the box looks like here, and this box is how it comes. It's just a simple box. Tells you exactly what I just described. That the two AirPods are a left and a right, and they're in a bag, and you just pull them out and you put them into your case. You do keep the case, so it won't be something that you'll be replacing. So unfortunately, the case is probably not going to have a good battery life like this. I know this battery case isn't as good for the battery as the AirPods themselves, but it's very easy to pair them. And if you go to Apple, you can go to Apple and get a new pair, but they're going to charge probably like $89. And at that point, you might as well just buy a new set,
Sure.
Because it's going to be really close. So the price on this is only $59, $59.99. And tax and I think it's nominal shipping, like $65 US, and they ship them back, shipped to you, and it was a very good, great experience. I thought it worked well. I'll have pictures of what we showed on the video in the show notes, so everybody will be able to see this. But pairing your new set of AirPods is very easy. You just put there's actually a support article from Apple. You put the AirPods back into the case, and you push the sync button, and then I hadn't done this before, so it goes white, and then you hold it until it flashes, then goes to green or to amber if the batteries aren't fully charged, and then it syncs. So it's just like you're taking a new set of AirPods, putting them into your old case, and voila, you have basically a fresh set of AirPods with a fresh battery. So
I wonder why they're not doing the case.
They may not be able to get in the case. I'm thinking is probably
they get into these AirPods. It's
they get in these AirPods, but I know it is kind of strange. So then they are selling other stuff too, where they have the you can do 1 for 2 replacement. So if you have one, maybe sometimes people lose one of them. They'll charge $89.99 to gift you back with a pair. Because
that's a great idea.
That's a great deal. And of course, they have an accessory case. My AirPods Pro, and I talked about this on a previous show. I have these from Spec. This is a protective case for the AirPods Pro. So they also have a protective case that they're selling. So it looks like I'd be interested to see if this is a sustainable market or not. Currently, they're only doing the first generation. They have the second generation, but right now it's still set as coming soon. People did ask whether or not you'd be able to do the AirPods Pro. They're nowhere near that yet. So
AirPods Pro's batteries are still probably pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Plus costs. I'm wondering, the cost may not, or can they get in them to get the batteries? And I'm using the Pros here, so
right.
But they give a 90-day warranty on this replacement, which is great. So they're definitely interesting. So once they ship the AirPods to you, you have 5 days to ship it back to them. They give you a prepaid label. And I'm a little nervous because you're using the U.S. mail here in the United States. So the way the mail's been lately. So what I did was I was smart this time, because this time I did that when I'm shipping something. I got the shipping tracking number, put it in the USPS site, and told them to text me every time it has a status change. And so they got them yesterday.
Okay.
So they're good. They got them, and they're not going to charge me more because I didn't send the old ones. So I thought this is a great
business
concept.
model.
So,
it's something that you can expect it to show up a few years after the original equipment has been released.
So and they've got a lot of great reviews on their site. So check them out, thepodswap.com. Like I said, I got a link in the show notes so you can get to that. They give you a 90-day warranty on it. And you can't beat it. And now I got it. The reason I did it, first off, I took one for the team and wanted to get everybody an experience on this, as well as it's always good to have a spare pair of AirPods, because I've been many times. The AirPods Pro do last for a good long time, but you may be in a bind, and then when I put these in, I was like, oh my God, there's no difference. The AirPods Pro are so much nicer because of the fitted with the ear cups and stuff. So
yeah.
So check that out. I think it's going to be something you might want to do. So let's go ahead and move on to some tips here. I threw a couple in myself, but you got one in here that you did, and this was about the music app and skipping. You want to talk
right? If I listen to a lot of music.
Me too.
Either through my Beats Pro wireless buds or through my HomePods that I have in the house here. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, I tell the lady what song I want to play, or since I'm a musician, I oftentimes go back to, like, I'm listening to something and then I want to listen to it again. Go back this many seconds. I do that a lot. And other people may just want to go back as well. Well, if you notice in the music app on your phone, there between on either side, there's a fast forward and a reverse button or icon, and in the middle is the play button. Now, in previous iterations of the music app, there used to be little skip back and skip forward buttons. I want to say they changed at some point, and then at some point you're able to say what those buttons do, like what the time is on each one. If you go into the podcast app, you can see exactly what I'm talking about, because Apple has kept that functionality in the podcast app, and you can go into the settings for the podcast app and change what those two buttons say. So you can go back 15 seconds, but you can go ahead a minute if you wanted to. But in the music app, that's gone. So I was having a little jam session with my buddy there, and he is beside himself. I could see the frustration, and he's using an Apple product and he's frustrated. So it's like a dichotomy that I just like, I got to, what is he missing here? Because what I find is he gets frustrated because when he's talking to his phone, which I rarely talk to my phone unless I have my earbuds in, I usually will just hold the button on the side to summon the lady. And so he wanted to get backwards, like, I want to listen to that again in 10 seconds. It was, well, how come I can't just push something and I try to grab the scrubber and I'm missing it? He goes, it used to be so easy, just go poof and it goes back this amount of seconds. So I'm thinking, yeah, well, how come Apple took that out? What was their thinking behind that? And I realized that there's lyric mode in if you're listening to music, and in lyric mode, you can actually go back right to a very specific spot in a song. So it's great for musicians as long as the lyrics are there, which for most songs, the lyrics are there and they scroll. So you can go right back to the beginning of that chorus and push those lyrics there, and you can start at that point in the song. So if you're wondering where your skip buttons were to go back or forward to a certain spot in the song, you go into lyric mode, which is that little icon at the bottom left there, and you go in there, and that's how you micro manage where you are in any given song.
Absolutely. I think Apple did a great job in music with lyrics. I mean, being able to just a simple way to just tap that button, go in, and you can follow along the lyrics. And I always, like my wife, I show it to her all the time. It's like, hey, look, you can sing along to this, and you get to see the lyrics. Here, look at that. You know, especially when you put it on an iPad. So it's almost like a
karaoke.
It's almost karaoke on your iPad. So I think they did a really great job of getting that in place for the lyrics. So, but no, that was a great tip. I think everybody's going to like to know how to do that skip function in Apple Music. So, I have a couple tips. These are kind of tips and apps, really. This was actually an article on 9 to 5 Mac, but I think was a good place to reference because this has always been a challenge. And I think many of us these days probably do take images of text, or take images or a screenshot of your iPhone or anything. Specifically, a lot of times it has like text and stuff on it, so you want to be able to capture it. Of course, when it's a photo, that makes it even more challenging. And then for those using your Mac all the time, you would always have a PDF of something, and it would be an image. It'd be near impossible to be able to capture that text, because you may want to convert the image to text and copy right to your clipboard and paste it into a document. It might be something that you find that's on there. There's a number of apps that they mention here, and one of them I have found here, which is really a really cool app. It's called Live Scan, and they tested this, and I agree with them. I've used this before. It does a great job of basically what it does is it's an app that opens up any image that you have in your camera roll in photos on your iPhone, and be able to scan the document with whatever type of language it could be, whether it can be English and it might be Chinese characters, and it does a really pretty good job of doing that. So and you just grab those photos, be able to scan it and bring it right in there. Now they do, it does a really good job of doing this, and it's actually not too terribly expensive. And I had thinking about it, I might try it, because they have a $9.99 lifetime access subscription, so it doesn't cost you a dime after $10, and it might be well worth your well worth it. I'm assuming you take a lot of screenshots and
absolutely
this kind of stuff. We all do,
for sure.
And this comes in really handy. There's a couple other apps I'll mention on the Mac, and there's one I absolutely love, and it's actually part of SetApp. If anybody's not familiar with SetApp, is the subscription apps for Mac and as well iOS, because they're starting to spring out in the iOS stuff. It's an app called Text Sniper, and I was super impressed with it. I have it on my Mac, and it does the same thing. It's just a matter of doing, just like you're doing like a screen capture on your Mac, and it just scans whatever text is on a photo, and it'll grab it, and it does a really good job of doing that. Another app they also mentioned for iPhone and iPad is called Snip Copy, and it does similar stuff to Live Scan, and it does have an ad supported model. I always love those apps that have ads, and then when you start seeing all those crazy ads for those games and such, and that others crude stuff, you tend to not like it. But it didn't get a very good review of what it does. So I think of all the things here of what I've read, and on one I can say I have used, it's called Live Scan. Check it out. There's a free 7-day trial. You can try it out. They do like $1 a month, $5.99 a year, or like I said, for $10. My gosh, I mean, might as well just do a lifetime. But lifetime cannot necessarily be lifetime, because there's been plenty of apps I've paid that money, and then the app goes away. So
bye.
So be aware of that. So you might get a couple of years out of it, but it may be around, because the technology's really has changed. So
do you remember when like optical character recognition software used to be like $100?
Yeah, big money, and the thing to have,
right? And you had to have a scanner. Like you had one of those big flatbed scanners. You put your, it was crazy. Now we're doing it on our phone.
Yep. And then a couple other tips I want to talk about here. Again, I've linked to some articles here, but I've talked about this before. I always love this website, OSX Daily. They put some great good tips on that site.
Mm-hmm.
How to find your iPhone with your HomePod. If you don't know where you've put your iPhone, and I would hope you have an Apple Watch. If you don't have an Apple Watch, you probably should have one just for this reason, because you can easily do this, and it'll if it lets me, and so I can find my iPhone, because it's dinging for me, and I keep doing it like 50 times. Where the heck did I put my iPhone? Well, you also can do it with your HomePod and the HomePod Mini, which is powered by the S Lady, the way you do it is you initiate a voice command to HomePod by a phrase saying, "Hey you, I can't find my iPhone," or "Hey you, where's my iPhone?" And Siri will now reply something like, "Looking for your iPhone." And at that point, you'll have to wait a few seconds. So basically what it's doing is utilizing the Find My service that you've already got your iPhone linked to. So I would assume this would work with the iPad as well. I should probably try that.
It does,
because it puts the system alert on the iPhone screen saying "Find My iPhone alert," and you just got to tap it. So otherwise, it's going to keep donging and drive you crazy until you do it. So check out that feature for those of you who have HomePods. I have every HomePod there is. Two HomePods here with the big ones that are my stereo pair, which I've talked about last week. I'm super stoked when Big Sur 11.3 comes out. They've now finally, the Mac can play the pairs as a pair. I don't have to play just on the left or the right.
Right. Yeah.
So they finally got your pair to actually truly be a pair. So I'm pretty stoked with that. And the HomePod Mini is working out really well too. I think, I don't know if you got one of those yet, but
It's right behind me.
you got a HomePod Mini. Okay, I'm sure you love it because it's a great one. I got one on my bedside right now. I don't know why I even have it there. I need to move it somewhere else because I'm silly. I have my iPhone that I listen to at night that's sitting next to me. So why do I have a HomePod Mini?
There's going to be a bit of redundancy in the Ginsburg residence. We know
there is. So I bought two HomePods when they first came out. I bought a white one and a black one, or a space gray one. The space gray one's here. The white one's up at our lake house, and the family's enjoying it up there. So
very nice
at my expense, but that's okay.
I use that feature all the time.
Yeah,
50% of the time I use my watch to find my phone, and the other time I ask the HomePod where it's at.
Absolutely. So, and then another tip here, and I'm using iMore as a reference here, how to view and delete your old iCloud backups on your iPhone. It is a great idea to have your backups, and I hope everybody's backing up their iPhone because you don't want to lose the settings, especially your photos and your messages. I think those are the two things that probably the biggest hogs when it comes to space. So you should have enough iCloud space, and it goes through a lot of the details of what's in your iCloud backup. And like I said, it's great because when you restore it, it restores basically all your settings over, your app data, your device settings,
app data
space, your home screen and app organization. Because, we all love to have our apps in one place. And believe me, I've done that before. I'm like, oh my God, I got to reorganize my apps again.
Never.
And it's a good idea to keep all your iCloud backups in one place. And what you do is if you want to go in and actually manage your storage and take a look at what backups are there, you go into the settings app, and then you go under the Apple ID banner that's at the top of the screen. That's basically your icon of your face and your Apple ID. Go into iCloud. Then you go into manage storage under iCloud. And then you go and tap backups, and backups in there. And it's happened to me before. Well, of course, with me getting a new iPhone every year, I'm going to see the 11 Pro Max and the 12 Pro Max. So I wanted to make sure I did a restore. In fact, I'll say my 11 Pro Max backup was kind of a mess, so I wasn't able to restore everything. So I did have to do a little customization when I did the restore, but I got it worked out okay. So you go in and if there's any excess backups, because believe me, I'm sure there's plenty of you out there that have like sometimes 3, 4, 5 backups, and it takes up the space on your iCloud. I'm okay. I have a 2 terabyte plan now because I'm part of the Apple bundle, so I don't think I have any worries about my
probably not
iCloud space. But go in and delete them if there's something in there that you no longer own. I mean, I've had that plenty of times. Just go in, delete them, and I think you'll be much happier. And you do the same thing on your Mac too, because there's going to be a lot of backups on your Mac as well that you might want to get rid of. So another good tip there for you as far as your iPhone backups. And then let's go ahead and talk about a couple apps here. You have one app that you brought up. Go ahead and tell us about it.
It is Lensa. Lensa is the app that I just recently got turned on to. It's a photo editing app that is really geared towards people. Yep. So the kinds of stuff that you can do in here, it's basically in categories. So there's face. So in face, the things you can adjust in the face is there's a bit of a retouch. You can retouch your neck.
Well, we have Guy Cyril was saying with his new camera, it's like, yeah, you can see on my neck fat. So I need this camera's weight. It's too good.
He needs a Lensa app for that. Eye bags. It fixes eye bags. Yep. Eyelashes, eye contrast, lip color, lens correction. This is stuff that could be in other apps as well. Eye size, nose size, cheek size, I know, lip size, and then hair color. So that's all stuff to do with your face. Then you can go into background, and of course you can erase the background that is in the photo. and you can make it a photo of your own, or they have some pre-packaged stuff that you can use, like, impressionist or abstract or whatever. You can do that as well. And of course it has regular a camera app, camera adjustments that you'd see it in, white balance and contrast and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a few filters that they have that I suspect that they're adding to on a kind of a regular basis, which I notice with other phone or camera apps that I have. They keep, they let you know that they're still developing the application. So I love it. Just the amount of control that you have over whatever you took a photo of. I know this is probably good for a lot of the narcissistic people who like to take selfies and post them, but I like to use it on subjects that I take photos of, and to make everybody look as flattering as they possibly can be.
Now there's the cost. It does have a free trial. Looks like a 1 week free trial.
1 week free trial. Yeah. It does. It's not cheap. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't remember is it a monthly package?
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm in here. It's got a 1 week free trial, so you can try it out. If it's something that you think you're going to do a lot of, it may be of value to. It's $249 a month, or you can pay $29.99 per year. So
that's what I did. I
it's a yearly subscription. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
do you find you use it a lot, or?
It's my go-to right now because it's fun, and you don't get to get rid of the bags under your eyes, or get one less chin under your neck. It's awesome.
So yeah, those are the kind of apps you just kind of have to see if is it something that's going to fit for you.
Right. The whole background removal thing, I really dig that it automatic, so it's obviously, like I say, geared towards taking pictures of people. So it really knows shoulders and arms and eyeballs and chins and all that kind of stuff. So it does a really good job of figuring out what is a person and what isn't a person, and it gets rid of the background pretty awesomely, I have to admit.
Yeah, it looks like they update it pretty frequently, and a lot of pretty good amount of reviews, 4.7 out of 5. So people are definitely liking it. But and they just actually this is version 3.0, so they just came out yesterday as we're recording this.
Yeah, I forget there was a cool set of filters they added in there too.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a unique app, so check it out. See
if you take enough photo, like I do, I take a lot of photos. I'm an Instagram guy, and I take lots of pictures of wine, which I don't know that the wine thing is going to be so good for Lensa, but you never know.
You could fix the background so all you see is the bottle. So
yeah, you never know.
And my app, and I've always recommended this app, and I'm actually I took a break from they have a yearly subscription, but it's a very popular podcasting app, Overcast. Now, what they did is they gained the Apple Watch app. So listening to podcasts and being able to control it from your Apple Watch is actually a cool thing, and it just got this update, I believe yesterday. So as we record this, and it's improved compatibility with Siri and other improvements. But what's headlined in this is the redesigned Apple Watch app. The new Apple Watch apps are rare these days, with podcast apps especially. So you could see when it comes to being able to be available on the Apple Watch, and being able to pair with your iPhone, being able to control your podcasts from there. The old version of Overcast, it wasn't a great app. I'll definitely say that, but Overcast is a great podcasting app. I mean, for those of you who consume podcasts, and there's so many podcatchers out there, lately mine has been Pocket Casts. I've actually been using that. I was a Downcast guy. I was using that for a long time, but I decided to move over to Pocket Casts, and they do a very good job of aggregating of podcasts. I'm still not a fan of the Apple Podcasts app, and that's the other thing. Apple Podcasts app actually is going to be changing soon with 14.5, with the different views, and people aren't too happy with it. But hey, it's change. That's what happens.
I guess so. It's interesting you mentioned the Apple Podcast app. I've listened to a fair amount of podcasts, but it's always when I have my earbuds on. And I don't ever interact with the actual app. I always, it's just me and my voice saying, play the latest episode of this show. That's usually what I do, and then I'll and control it from my voice. It's interesting that we were just talking about how an
Yeah.
app can be better than another app, but I don't even know what the podcast app looks like. The only reason I looked in it recently was because of the tip I just gave. I did a search to find out what's the deal with the skip buttons, and it referred me to a podcast, Apple Podcast app. And that's when I went and actually looked. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's what those used to look like. Because I listen to podcasts, but I only interact with my voice.
Yep, absolutely. So check it out. Overcast is a great podcasting app. It's actually, you know what? Honestly, I look at our listenership, and I think it's like probably the number 1 or number 2 podcatcher. It's part of In Touch with iOS. So those
Oh,
of you who
wow.
are using Overcast, obviously you know how good it is, and now you've gained some improvements with the Apple Watch app. So check that out.
The
So
Overcast app, number
the
1
Overcast
rated
app.
with iOS or In Touch with iOS listeners.
That's right. All right. I think we've gone this long hour already. I can't believe it went fast. So let's go ahead and wrap things up here. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at In Touch with iOS, and you can also subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Overcast, as well as Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter as well as on Instagram at DaveG65. And Mike LaPlante, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody about your great YouTube channel and what you've been doing.
Well, I've been doing this thing in front of microphones for a pretty long period of time, and I recently, when I say recently, it's my latest thing that I'm into is this YouTube show that I do. It's all about wine. I call it The Average Wine Enthusiast. And once every 3 weeks, I try to put out a show about some specific topic dealing with wine, whether it's a varietal or, just a good way to stay away from bad wines or good values on specific wines. Just try to talk to the layperson out there, because wine can be a pretty pretentious subject for some reason. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure why that is. It's not out of the reach of the ordinary guy or girl. And yeah, so I just put a show out there, and I'm having fun. I enjoy wine on a pretty regular basis, and so I just try to share the knowledge that I get. And like I said, you can go to YouTube and find that at The Average Wine Enthusiast. I also have a Instagram account, which that gets my my wine usage up a bit. You can see what I'm drinking and get the latest scoop on what's happening over at my Instagram account, which you can also find at Average Wine Enthusiast.
Great. We'll link in the show notes. Thanks so much, Mike, for being here. Really appreciate it. A lot of fun. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We had a lot of great discussion here. Hopefully Warren will be back next week, and he won't have any internet connection issues, but we missed you, Warren. Thanks always to you, as well as being our co-host. And thanks, everybody. We'll talk again soon, and thanks for listening.
Beautiful.
Great show. Thank you so much.